Alright, it is now time for raising funds for world domination. Day number 212. So, as for the daily update, there is still no updates on the anticipated appeal. So we won the overall LTV case. We're anticipating an appeal. There's still no official case on that. Oh yeah, I forgot to send in the review request for the Shopify Store. I guess maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Yeah, today I finished up. I created an update shorts video for the latest release of the Terminal block mining game that was released today. 2 of my marketing videos are released. There's still one more. I'll probably upload that in a few weeks. Yeah, there's one new block type dedication available on the Shopify Store if you want that. $16. Okay, we will continue as we usually do. Did the Terminal block mining game require a license to play? Yes. So you can, well, if you check the GitHub link, there's a link to the README, and that has the details of the license and that. But you can, so the license is, there's like a 30-day, I think it's a 30-day trial period. And if you want to, you can try it within that time. Or you can, you have to pay me at least $1 through, if you purchase a sponsored block type, or if you've ever sent a super chat, then you automatically have a license. All right, that looks like it works. Okay, last night I worked on creating a work item type so I can send game model updates to other threads that are not UI threads. So I think the next step was to actually add something to the init method. Right, should be as simple as that. So that gets deleted now. So this is the is the event that lets the chunk initializer thread know where the player currently is. Did the same mistake as last night, using the up command, accidentally deleting things. Pixel Catcher 123 says, "Hello, my friend. Long time no see." Actually, I don't even remember how long. I see like hundreds of usernames over time. the username, I definitely have seen usernames with the word pixel in it. So like pixel something. I've seen that, although I completely don't remember the last time. If it was a few days or if it was more than that. YouTube name was Pixel Checksum. Oh yeah, that's another really confusing thing. They go YouTube goes back and forth. Sometimes it'll have like the YouTube name, and sometimes it's the other name. And I'll see someone talk for a while, and I like recognize their icon. And I'm like, are you that other person with that other name? And of course now everyone's icon is Clippy, so they all look the same. Just to trick people, make it confusing. So I have to figure out how to generically pass these events. Actually told me learning C++, so I started. Still Googling a lot. Yeah, I recall having similar conversations too, like should I learn C++ or Python a few times. And I guess I usually go through a series of questions to try to get to some answer. I guess my guess is you probably said that you were more interested in embedded stuff. Or like kind of lower level kernel stuff. What IDE are you using? Using Vim? As a newbie is less than ideal. When I have used an IDE, I've used IntelliJ, but actually recently I've been using it a bit less because it has a bunch of bugs in it, and I had to roll back to an older version because they broke. It was a bunch of the terminal stuff they broke in the newest version. Just programming for fun. Yeah, it's a good stress-free place to be to learn. Vim can give autocomplete and even integrate with AI. Yeah, it's on my to-do list to look into that again. Throughout the day, I just don't have any time to take a look. NeoVim keeps coming up. People keep recommending that to me, so eventually I'll give a shot at migrating over. I'm into game hacking. That can be fun. I remember back in the day playing around with some old like Super Nintendo ROMs and just changing like random values within the game files to try and like reverse engineer how it worked. I was able to like add new blocks and stuff to my favorite childhood levels. With Ollie DBG. Yeah, I've never used that. Never got into that seriously though. Brandon Spice says hello. How's it going? $297. What's an abstract class? An abstract class, I guess, assuming you know what just a regular class is, with a regular class, you can extend from that class, and you can in your child class, you can add new methods and extend the behavior of what was in the parent. And when you make it abstract, what you're doing is saying that this abstract class cannot be instantiated because it doesn't make sense to. So, for example, with a I'm trying to think of a good example, but in some kind of model, like you might have an application where you have like a person class, and then you have a specific kind of person that extends from that, like a firefighter, or someone, a train driver or something like that. And the train driver has very specific properties that add to what a person has. But also in your application, there might be some people who are just like, they're just regular persons. So you want to you have less information about that person, so you can still instantiate that. But then there are more abstract scenarios. Like, for example, a common thing would be to have like a generic shape class, and then there's specific shapes, like a triangle, circle, square. And that's relevant because if you have like a generic instance of the class, you might want to call a method on it, like what's the get area or something. If you say get the area of a shape, there's no definition. That doesn't make any sense. But if you call, because it has to have a concrete implementation to call on, so it has to take base times height or whatever. So you cannot create instances of just shape. You have to create an instance of a triangle that inherits from shape or square or whatever. But with person, you could have a method like age, and you could have just have a simple, you don't know much about the person. It's just some vague, basic information about the person. You have an instance of it, and you know their age, so you can call that method. That's maybe not the best example, but and the other key is that if something extends from an abstract class, it has to implement all the methods still, including some abstract methods. $298. will that work? Interface in implementation. I guess, is that relevant? Is that related to the discussion about abstract? I guess you can call that would make sense to say that the when you're just saying that it's abstract, that's like you're declaring the interface, and to properly extend it, you're required to implement it. I got my order of parameters messed up somewhere. 7. What me confused is the const int pointer, const int pointer. Yeah, there's a way. I think. It's been a while since I thought about C and C++, but reading the declarators, I think it was, you want to think about so that for the star it modifies what comes before it, if I remember correctly. So like if C because here the confusing part is the const, so it's so for that first one there, you got const int pointer, const. Yeah, so if you have a type like there's the value, and then there's also the pointer to it, and either one. So in the computer's memory, like if you declare on the stack a variable, an int, you just have like one chunk of memory, one like word of memory that's allocated to that. Then you declare an integer pointer and make it point to that thing. Now you have two things in memory. So there's up to possibly two things that you could declare as constant. And that first one you referenced there, the const modifies the star. Star is a pointer, yeah. Yeah, if you if you really want to learn that stuff, I would go back and like make sure you understand how it works in C, because everything in C++ extends from that. And in C++, there's a lot more concepts that, frankly, I think it's kind of mind-blowingly complex. There's a ton of like corner cases and stuff. There's even some like, even for seasoned veterans, there's a few corner cases. Like even through type defs, there's actually a couple. There's through like specifiers. I think it's related to the pointer thing as well. It's possible to create a type using type defs that cannot be created using any other means. I have a blog post where I talked about that. So if you find yourself confused, then that's understandable. Function pointer makes me confused. Yeah. Especially function pointers to function pointers. Thank you for explaining. No worries. Yeah, hopefully it's actually been quite a while since I did the pointer stuff. If I recall correctly, the way to read them is to like just read them backwards. So the last character. Yeah, make sure you Google this and make sure it's right. But I seem to remember thinking you could just say like, okay, you got star, that's pointer to int, that is constant. That's the last one there. And then you've got const star int, so const pointer, so a constant pointer to an int. So the integer can change, but the pointer always points to that location. You can't move it anywhere else. And then you got constant pointer to a constant int. So basically it's, you have a pointer to a like a constant, a literal that can't change in your program. What are you doing? I am, oh, I didn't answer your question. I subbed to you today. Where are you from? I am from Canada, and I am working on building a terminal-based video game where you can simulate the process of mining blocks of iron ore. Guess the compiler knows. Anyway, what do you want? That's true, but you still have to write the code, and it gets pretty complicated. Actually, if I remember correctly, there was a web page where you could just like paste. If you actually just Google that for like like a C or C declaration explainer, and you could just paste it and it would explain it. But yeah, I think eventually when it comes down to it, you can for specifiers, const is a specifier. This const and volatile, I think, which are specifiers. Those just kind of end up being a linear list. The really complicated one is function pointers, but honestly, it's kind of a stupid design decision to make it that way. I guess it made sense if you have a function pointer as a function parameter. Const mean never can be changed. That's true, but when you're reading those, the catch is that if you have a pointer, you have to pay attention to what does const actually modify. Does it make the pointer constant, but the value can change? Or does it make the value constant and the pointer can change? Or maybe neither or both can change. Just viewed the GitHub page. Looks cool. Out of my depth though, as I'm in accounting. It's interesting that I'm catching viewers from accounting. I guess I have some of my recent videos are more on business, so it seems like YouTube brings in members of the audience based on the topic of whatever I put out recently. Does the people who hire looking in your GitHub? I know that is a popular way that recruiters and prospective employers often do look at your GitHub. I haven't been interviewing in years though, so I don't really know. I've heard a lot of negative things about the job market recently, and especially AI is making it more complicated for both the interviewers and for the people hiring. But honestly, I actually don't really get. I used to get more recruiter spam back in the day. I watched your most recent vid in the World Domination one. Both were good. Excellent. Hopefully I can get more people to get on board with my World Domination plans. Okay, that's compiling. Programming is like the one niche I haven't invested time in. The closest thing to it is when I tinker with Linux. Yeah, it's a lot of work to learn how to program. And I guess up until recently it's been pretty lucrative, but I don't know, I think we seem to have overcompensated with getting too many people to get tech degrees. And then I guess also with immigration, we brought in that's made it fierce competition. I don't know, I guess you said you did accounting. I've always kind of wondered if that maybe wasn't the more lucrative path, doing accounting. But then again, from my interactions with accountants, like when I think of how much money it costs me to get my accounting done, and how much, like, it's a lot of money for me, but for them, like if you're an accountant trying to make, $100,000 a year, you've got to file a lot of tax returns to get that money. So then a lot of people work for firms and stuff, like the accounting and consulting firms, but they take like 75% of your wages, or like 75% off the top of whatever the customer gets billed. Pinky in the brain. Learn COBOL, get rich. Lots of people say that, but I honestly am quite doubtful. I think a lot of people have heard that meme of like, there's not a lot of mainframe programmers, but there's not a lot of people with that knowledge, but also not a lot of people. There's not a lot of demand. Like your clients are pretty limited, I think. And also they've been mostly like probably big banks and governments and stuff with like really strict security protocols and stuff. So they'd probably be in a position to like make extraordinary demands from people. I'm curious about your view of AI vibe coding. Lots of people have asked about it. I honestly still have not really gotten around to vibe coding. Somebody vibe coded. If you look at the GitHub repo for this game, in the link in the description, someone vibe coded a 3D client. It's not really a client because it doesn't actually. It basically just connects to the pre-generated database and renders in. But someone vibe coded like a 3D version of that they can browse around and look at. If you check the issues page, someone filed an issue and they posted some screenshots. That was pretty interesting. Having said that, a lot of stuff, like when I've tried to ask like an AI chatbot to like make improvements in this or like fix things, solve problems, it's just the results I get are not good. And it is possible to you can of course make better prompts, but then at the end of the day I ultimately know how to solve the problem. So for some problems, it's almost like you have to know exactly how to solve the problem in order to ask it in such a way. You have to like give it the answer in your question. Learn Pascal, get rich. Free Pascal and Lazarus. I audit medium-sized businesses, so not tax, but yes, can be lucrative. AI is going to cut half the jobs. Interesting. I guess I would expect AI to make a lot of mistakes. Well, having said that, like from doing my taxes, I would expect AI to mostly automate like the kind of low skill stuff of like inputting receipts and stuff, or just like taking the declarative information from like, auto detecting where to scrape information out of an invoice automatically and stuff. But like actually tracking down like stuff that doesn't make sense when things don't add up. Often the answer is not like, it's not even in the AI. You have to like go back and look at the numbers to figure out why your stuff is imbalanced. AI is hallucinating like Elon on ketamine? I guess so. It's hard to imagine language models having a consistent, reliable approach to complex problems. Yeah, especially for the accounting stuff. Like I could imagine it getting good at committing fraud. Half the audit businesses are data entry roles. Tasks have very little variability. Rethinking my accounting path. Interesting. Yeah. The large language models are, they give you back tokens that are common. So like if there's just, what I would expect a lot of is if there's like a common way to, actually someone gave a very good example, which was apparently there's a thing, if you look for wristwatches, if you just do like an image search for like Rolexes or something, most demos of a wristwatch, they have the time, the hands are set to a very specific time because it's the best way to like illustrate the watch, because that way the hands are not over top of each other. But if you ask an AI to generate an image of those things, it has a lot of trouble with that problem, because all of the trading data, like there's certain things that are not in the trading data for a reason. So cases like that where like a human being wouldn't have a lot of trouble understanding like a strange accounting pattern, or like, because the job of accounting is to model reality, not to model what is the most common or kind of most predictable based on the premises. And that's where I think the output of LLMs is going to deviate from accounting. So I think like a lot of things, it's going to make it easier to be a really good accountant or programmer or artist, but it's going to make it harder if you're just getting started. does this compile? Okay, that does compile. Where am I calling that function? Either got in just in time or barely late. Time will tell. Accounting will move in the direction of consulting and advising. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I have some videos on my interpretation of consulting, of like trying to start my own one-person software consulting business. You might find some insights if you look on my channel, look at playlists on, I think it's software consulting business. I have a few videos that there might be some nuggets of use for you there. I think some of the like generic consulting may actually get automated way more due to large language models. The stuff that like there's still for sure is a ton of stuff that AI will not automate. It's just like, I guess any time, like if you want like vague suggestions of the approach, or like pointers to I think actually for like legal advice, like especially if you're there's a lot of people, like really poor people, who are like trying to fight, the government and stuff, and they need like consulting advice on like municipal zoning regulation bylaws and stuff like that. AI, I think, it really can help out those people a lot. People have a lot of time to like, screw around and like, just keep Googling the information and checking and stuff. That area, which, I mean, admittedly, lawyers didn't even really go for those clients at all. But I think there's a huge middle area where like kind of the low expertise legal advice can be pretty well replaced by a bot. But of course, for example, in a bankruptcy, everything is screwed up. You go and the records are wrong. You find out that stuff was like not recorded. So you have to like play all these games and like call banks and talk to people and talk to former employees and like those kinds of things. AI is not going to automate that anytime soon. So for sure, like the human aspect of things will get more valuable. Been considering canceling my AI subscriptions lately. Going to custom workspaces with API keys. I think I can get more focus tool for tasks with a much lower cost. Yeah, I actually, for some of my videos, I have been using AI a bunch for, I've been using it to automate like certain like graphic design tasks and like image generation tasks where like I would never ever consider using an artist at all because it would just cost so much money to basically make like, clip art for something. Like actually in that most recent video I did on marketing, I have that page of like an example shop of like selling a blank water bottle and a blank t-shirt. That image was generated by AI. And that was one where I just used the first result that it came back with. I didn't even need to like keep asking for it. But for certain types of like artistic prototyping, it is pretty, I think it will make, that's an area where I think it will make things way more, society more productive. I know it's more for artists doing graphic design. Having said that though, like in some of the stuff I've used, well actually in the video about business, how to start a business, there's an image of like the Lemon CRM tracking system. So that image, I generated that with AI, but it actually came back with like it had like tons of typos and there was like tons of issues and stuff with it. So I spent quite a while manually correcting that image, probably too long. So I think there's definitely a case for like keeping your graphic designers and getting them to use AI to get to like 90%, and then like they'd be well suited to just fix the image up and go to the last 10%. Met with the creator of Ernst & Young's AI division. He said the partners can't wait to replace employees with AI. Yeah, I would imagine there's well, if you watch like the All In podcast or something, tons of venture capitalists are like, they're just, salivating, waiting like, oh man, we could just fire everyone. But I think there's a rude awakening in the future where it's like lots of quality is going to go down quite a bit. And I mean, if we do actually fire, if we do prematurely fire everyone, and like that itself is going to crash the economy. So no one who's going to buy anything, if no one has money to buy stuff, it doesn't matter how efficient your business is, as you're never going to make sales. Oh man, this typing is messing with my mind. Use your universal basic income to lease a home assistant, humanoid robot. Can't do anything right. Piloted by third world slaves. Working for a company that steals your data. Yep, that's where we're headed. And the government will introduce universal basic income, and then instantly the cost of rent will increase. That'll just be like the basic rent. And we'll still have the exact same number of homeless people, but they'll all be receiving universal basic income. And then they'll suggest, why don't we just double the universal basic income, and then the price of housing will go up even more. Okay, will this work? Humans pick convenience over basic rights, such as privacy, ownership, as a path of least effort. Yeah, I think more and more about how there's a lot of aspects of capitalism where it's like an intrinsic optimization or growth process. Like if you imagine one society that just kind of like sacrifices exactly the right, rights like privacy and stuff like that, it'll eventually just like outcompete another one that maybe keeps some of those values. Like a society that's willing to sacrifice some of its most important things is, for better or for worse, is just going to end up out competing. So like when you just think about the world of the business area, like if you have a business that does something that's slightly unethical, but it has a 1% higher growth rate, if you allow that to happen, you don't like punish it with laws and stuff, that company on a 100-year time scale will outcompete all other companies just as like a mathematical property of the growth. Of course, we can enforce laws. That's the external control mechanism. You know, I should probably put the work item priority in there. Assuming the enforcement is impartial. Guns are impartial. Yeah, I mean, if you don't enforce the law equally, then certain companies certainly will get ahead, and I'm sure that's another contributor to why we're in the situation that we're in. Okay, now I've gotten rid of the typing that's coming through those parameters. That was preventing me from passing things correctly. Will that work? right. Excellent. Where was I? I was trying to subscribe. To this event. Line 100. I'm in the process of setting up my own business with a focus on robotic, automated gardening tools for families and entrepreneurs, all with a background in fine art and music. So wish me luck. To be honest, it may, I think like success in a business starting out from like nothing, like it's a business like that, focus on robotics and automated gardening tools. That would be, I think, a pretty challenging business. But if your experience, like if you're actually good at fine art and music, and if you're someone who went to an art school and has like at least 1,000 Facebook friends and you're kind of connected that way, that might actually even put you in a better position financially to start your business than if you have like a PhD in like embedded systems and microcontrollers and stuff like that. Because I could very easily see someone like that, spend a ton of time designing stuff and try to sell their product. It's like this super optimized robotic weeding tool or something, and then like nobody'd want to buy it and be too expensive and cryptic. And then that person go out of business. But on the other hand, someone who has like a ton of art friends, who has like 1,000 art friends, you could like paint a picture of a robot picking food, or you could use AI to make a picture of a robot picking food and then sell the picture, and you would make more money than the person who has a PhD. They say that's a realistic outcome. I'm a total dropout, but learned microcontroller assembly 15 years ago. So I guess I'm cooked. Well, it depends. What kind of social network do you have? Do you have you said all with a background in fine art and music. Did you apply that at all? Like, did you have you produced art or performed music anywhere? Professional career has been in RF field engineering. Not RF fields, but applied RF in the field. I'm confused. You said you're doing robotic automated gardening tools, all with a background in fine art and music. But then you also say you have a professional career in RF field engineering. So I guess if all of those are true, then yeah, depending on how you're clearly you've been up to something for the last 15 years or so. But if you are like a super techie person, which I assume most of my audience is, then the mistakes you're most likely to make are just like building too much and not thinking enough about the sales and marketing stuff, which you kind of have to build. You kind of have to build that at the same time as you build your product. I mean, it's really hard to build a product or build a business from scratch. It's often too when you start to like market or do sales, you'll realize like, wait a minute, nobody wants this. And you gotta change the product. But at the same time, if what you're doing is like a hobby business, like if you don't plan to get rich or sustain a living from it, then you have like less constraints. You can kind of just turn it into a passion project that doesn't have to make money. But then sometimes those things go on long enough that they actually do make money. Basically starting from nothing with a strong technical and design background. Starting from nothing. Okay, so you learned some microcontroller assembly 15 years ago, but you didn't complete the course. But you also said you have you have like actual expert. You have a professional career related to applied RF. So that kind of sounds maybe like I guess if someone says they do like applied RF, I assume they maybe go out like in the audit. You would audit for like if someone says, "Hey, why is my corporate Wi-Fi so bad?" They would call you, and you'd go in with some equipment and like test the the Wi-Fi signal strength and try to figure out how to get the Wi-Fi reception better, or like maybe cell reception, auditing cell reception, building maps and stuff. If I understand that correctly. If that's what you've done, then that will put you way ahead of like the average like fine arts person. The average fine arts person doesn't know the first thing about doing that. And if you do have some fine art in music, like an artist who has a bit of social skills and can do like art and music stuff, I think is going to be in a good place. Nobody wants this. It's been a recurring theme. Yeah, sometimes it can be, I mean, it depends how strong your conviction is to pursue it, but you could think more about maybe in like lower fidelity type stuff that's adjacent to what you want to lead up to. Like you said, robotic automated gardening tools for families and entrepreneurs. I mean, you could there's a large number of like things that are the first thing that you could do, and one of them many hundreds of first things you can focus on is going to be the most successful, and you don't know what that is yet. So you could try like focusing this is what I mentioned, I think it was in the last marketing video, is you can focus in on like one pitch for like what your product or service does, and then kind of A/B test that. So start with saying like you only do this specific thing. You can make it even like a subset of what you already do. Like for some of those, you can do like a simple plant. You can do like soil resistivity measurements and stuff to keep track of if the soil needs to be watered or something like that. Just setting up those like basic kind of monitoring systems and stuff. You could just experiment with, like, see, can you get any sales doing those things? Even like, for low fidelity prototyping, you could just like buy there's existing kits of like soil monitoring stuff. And if you can reliably just buy an off-the-shelf thing and resell it, then there might be something there to like innovate on that, build like homebrew solutions and stuff, and kind of expand out. There's many different market segments. There's like, it's got gardening tools for families and entrepreneurs. I think those are two different market segments. Like families might, like in the year, everyone will like buy some seeds and just like grow some random stuff on their porch just for fun. That's a very different consumer from an entrepreneur who's like, after they've grown a few plants and they're like, I don't really care about this anymore. I just want to optimize everything and make money. And that person has a very different appetite for what they want. Signal testing for cellular networks. Learned a lot, mostly that I don't want to work as a subcontractor. Yeah, it sounds like you have some technical background. So that would put you way ahead of. You mentioned you have a background in fine art and music. Do you also have you ever made that a part of your career at all, or like? like as a side thing, play music anywhere? Because the world of things that makes money is like there's things that people want to create that you won't be able to make money selling, and it's very frustrating. It's like things that don't really need to exist, or things that really should exist, but it's hard to get other people excited about it. But then on the other side, like I could very easily believe that like a genius entrepreneur would build some amazing system for like homebrew automation of, plant gardening and stuff, and then they would make zero sales and go out of business. And then I could also imagine someone who doesn't care about any of this stuff and then just goes on ChatGPT and makes images and says like, okay, ChatGPT, make me an image of a futuristic robot farming crops, and then it just generates some AI image, and then they sell the image and make money on it, and then that becomes the business model. They just like use AI to make pictures, print them, and then sell them. Now that's a very different kind of business, but I'm sure there are people making money on doing stuff like that right now. But again, it's you have to like know the consumer really well and be better than all the other bots that are doing the same thing out there. Making small scale farming accessible. So my passion arose from art. Yeah, I mean that could even be one thing. Like if you well, I said that was the topic of my last video, is to be successful, you need statistically significant amounts of data. And like I said, you maybe could just use AI to build some like mock-ups and prototype of like what you're interested in, and then use the art to like build the audience of people that is as interested and passionate about your subject as you. And then once you have like 1,000 of those people, that you'd get a much better signal about like what you should build, what you should focus on. Because you said nobody wants this. It's been a recurring theme. But I'm sure there's there is a subset of people out there who are like techno optimists about this kind of thing. It's just you have to find those people and build a product that markets to them well. Haven't made time for art or game design, which is really where my creativity comes from. It's hard to make time. There's not enough time. Justin CY 12345 says happy. Excellent. I'm glad you're happy and bringing those happy vibes into the stream. Hi to you too. Okay, this looks like it's working. How complicated is it to build a robotic arm? It can be complicated or simple. It depends on. There's solutions out there where you can buy, where like basically everything is done for you. And there's other solutions out there where you can customize everything. It depends how big the robotic arm is. If the robotic arm is a robotic arm that runs in like an automotive factory, the motor driver for it alone can be like $200,000. I'm working on low-cost robotics with simplifying electronics directed toward the home garden. Any media presence about it? Yeah, I think getting the media presence, that's important. That'll give you your first little bit of feedback on the idea. Okay, I think that actually works. Now I had a few more of those events somewhere. Map area. So I guess the map area that should probably also be moved into here. So it looks like I also have kind of a rat's nest, tangled rat's nest of events for the map area changes. I should probably refactor that as well. Our product arms come in different form factors and capabilities. There are application notes from vendors, lay things out with recommended parts, and code samples. Yeah, there's a ton of variability on that stuff. You can get like kind of toy robotic arms and stuff that are depending on, to get kids into programming, they have like all these complicated IDEs and stuff that basically make it so you don't need to do any programming. You click a button and then it moves. But that's all closer to like a full solution. But when it comes to like programming the stepper motors and stuff, and like minimizing vibrations and stuff, and there's a ton of, depending on how good your solution needs to be and what it has to do, it can get quite complicated. But I expert 11:50. I'll probably call it a night here. I had hoped to get more done, but I ran into more templating issues. But I think I resolved that. So I'm actually sending things to the chunk initializer, so I can reuse this pattern for the in-memory chunks thread. So now worker threads can receive and subscribe to user interface changes. So I'll leave it there for tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow night for day 213. All right, have a good night, guys.